Hello everyone, what's up? It is Sunday night and we are at Bat City Comic Professional, so it must be time to wind down your weekend where we're going to talk about all of the best in small press and indie comics out this week. As always, I am your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann. I'm super excited, as usual, to get to talk to you about comics, and it's going to be a blast. Really quick, we are drinking Campo Viejo. This is a Tempranillo, which is my favorite kind of wine. This was actually a gift for my birthday a couple weeks ago from our good friends Daniel and Alicia, and we actually drank this a couple weeks ago. Because they actually were nice and they gave us 2 bottles. And we were like, you know what? We've got another one. Let's drink it again because it's one of our favorites. So I'm really excited. I can just start. I don't even have to taste it to tell you that it tastes delicious. It's very, Tempranillos are very like red fruit, spicy, like you're going to smell it all. You're going to taste it all. I love this one because it's like, it's great with good food and good friends. And I'm like, it is. You're right. It's very much more of like a robust, intense flavor. I love them. They're my favorite. I love that like peppery after kick that Tempranillos have. I'm not a big sweets person, so for me, Tempranillos are always great because they have the fruit taste, but none of the fruit sweetness. So good. If you've never had it, this is one of the. To me, this is almost like your perfect introduction to a Tempranillo because it's not as peppery as some of the other ones. So if you're looking for a good one to try, Campo Viejo is definitely a good one. And that's what I'll be drinking tonight. But whatever you're drinking and enjoying, let us know. Even if it's just water, we always say, like, let us know what you're drinking because it's fun to just relax, chill with your friends, and talk about comics. Speaking of friends, I'm going to share this really fast so that all of our friends can join us across the internet. For those who are watching it live, if you're watching it on YouTube later on, thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends as well, because it's, again, always fun to talk about comics with your friends. We had a great week at Bat City. We got to hang out with the Bradenton Bombers yesterday. They honored us as like their charity organization for this bout. So if you've never been to a roller derby bout, it's a lot of fun. It's crazy, intense, all kinds of stuff happening everywhere. And like 300 people come out for these Bradenton games. And so it's super cool to see all the fans coming out and cheering and celebrating all of the awesomeness that was the Bombers game. And we had so many of our customers and friends in the community who were there. So shout out to Jamie and the Bradenton Bombers for having us there. And shout out to the team that came to play against them all the way from Louisiana. I think that was awesome that they had come in that far and they were playing. And they were a really great team to see play. So amazing. I had never been that close at a bout before where I was like, I felt like I was part of the team at times. So it was really cool. We've got a lot coming up this week, of course. I believe we are at the last week of next week is last week of the month. So is $1 book club this week? Can you check on the thingy? Is it this week or next week? This should be the 23rd. So $1 book club is this week. That'll be at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and we will be reading Philadelphia #1. So if you've never read Philadelphia #1, or if you have and you've always wanted people to talk to you about it, we're going to be reading Philadelphia. If you have the book, you don't have to buy it. So you can just show up and talk to us about it. If you don't have it, you can come buy a $1 copy, or possibly even if you want to go for the trade paperback, you can just jump right into the collected edition of it. I'm really excited.
You said you're going to be reading it. Do you read it at the club?
We do not read it at the club. So read it in advance if you want. I say you can come in and read it right before if you'd like, but we will be talking about it. We like to, I guess that is a difference because at Story Spelunkers on the weekend, we will be reading the book out loud. We aren't, but we do kind of, because we go page by page and kind of talk about the art and the storytelling and all the different mechanisms that we love so much, and things that we enjoyed about the book. So it's a lot of fun to get to talk to people because you get some who are like, I've read every issue, and then you get some who are like, this is my first time. It's great. It's such a good blend of people. So come check it out. And then that said, Story Spelunkers. is going to be, that's not on your calendar, it's on the one at the door. Story for Spelunkers is this weekend. So if you have a young reader who loves comics, Story Spelunkers is noon this Saturday, the 26th. And you can come bring them in. We will be reading one issue of a comic, and we will be reading it aloud as a group, and then we will be talking about some cool thing that we can get out of either the art or the storytelling or both in that combination. And that is 100% free to join, and the kids get to keep the book that we read. So bring your kids out. We've had kids as young as 5 all the way up to as old as 15. Join us for that. So if you have a reader of any kind that you think would enjoy it, have them stop by. And we will be closed early on Friday. We are going to be closing at probably 6:30 because we have a private event starting at 7 p.m. So Friday, the 25th, we will close at 6:30 to the general public. So make sure you stop in early to pick up your books because we will have that private event happening after that. So that is what's going on at Bat City this week, as well as great new books. But we are going to talk about the ones that came out last week and what we loved about each and every one of them. I'm going to take another drink really fast before I jump into them. And thank you, everybody who is tuning in to figure out what books they might need to check out. Man, that's just so good. All right, we are going to kick it off with I Hate Fairyland, issue 8 from Image Comics. And this is our newest volume of I Hate Fairyland. So if you've never read it, it is the story of Gert, who is a young girl who was sent to Fairyland to go on a magical adventure, and she's on this magical adventure to find a key to get through like this amazing, fun, adventurous land, and she's dumb and she can't do it, and she gets stuck there and ends up growing up internally but not externally. As we've gone through 5 volumes of this book, Gert has made it to adulthood, and now adult Gert has been sent back to Fairyland to help another kid who is stuck there. And while she is there, everybody freaks out because everybody in Fairyland hates Gert and doesn't want her to be back. And so Gert is now being hunted by Gert. And in the last issue, we saw her have to take on herself and variations of herself from throughout time. And the winner of the Gert battle is now trying to figure out how they personally can get out of Fairyland. And so the thing about Fairyland is Gert will never, ever, ever seem to find her way completely out of it. It's hilarious. It's Scotty Young doing just what he does best, telling us a hilarious, heartfelt story about our imaginations and how sometimes imaginary worlds don't necessarily want us in them. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out for sure if you love humorous comics. A Legacy of Violence, issue 8 from Madcave. This is Cullen Bunn and Sarasota local Andrea Moody. This is the opposite of I Hate Fairyland. If I Hate Fairyland is bright and colorful and full of fun and adventure, this is dark in every sense of the word. This is about a unit called Unit 731, which is in some other country's hospital, and a bunch of Doctors Without Borders have been privy to something going on there. And as they are trying to work in their own field and kind of just help the people of this community, somebody is basically kind of red rooming the citizens of this town, and now they are trying to force all of these doctors into it. And as the story has escalated, we find out it's not just people getting killed. There is actually more to it, and it might not actually be killing that they're going for, but more of experimentation that's happening. And in this issue, we learn a lot about what that experimentation looked like and where it came from and how our main character is connected to the history of that. So this is the big one for a lot of that background information, but it's also one of the biggest ones that moves the current action forward. And so I love that you get a little bit of both in this issue that really is pulling that story to wherever Cullen Bunn is taking us. Second Coming, Trinity, issue 5 from Ahoy Comics. This is actually cool random story. One of the ladies at the Bradenton Bombers game bout last night asked me if I carried Ahoy Comics because she used to be their accountant. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever, that I met somebody randomly in Bradenton that knew all about Ahoy. This is Mark Russell's ongoing story. This is the 3rd volume of what if Jesus and Superman were roommates, and, you know, bringing Jesus back into the modern society and having those conversations of godlike versus, you know, actual like deity, and the concept of whether or not our society is prepared for a reconciliation with some of those lessons. And when we have superheroes and people that we kind of rely on to be the good ones, do we kind of ignore the responsibilities that we have? And there is actually that conversation in this issue specifically, where Jesus is kind of saying, you know, hey, it's not fire insurance. You have to get out there and do something. Meanwhile, at the same time, our Superman style character, Sunstar, is having to deal with the fact that his son has all of his superpowers and he can't control them because he's a baby and he doesn't really know how to deal with it. And so they are trying to figure out, like, the city builds them a fireproof house that the kid can't allegedly destroy, and Jesus is like, maybe you need to send your baby somewhere else. Like, maybe it's time he goes off on his own, because a lot of the time, you know, what makes a kid grow into the man he needs to be is being in a place where he can find his own answers. And so maybe it's time to do that. And we've got some very upset parents who aren't really sure that they want to agree with that situation. Great story of 2 best friends. Great story of our own society. Great story just kind of looking at those parables and those idioms and those thought processes that have been shared for thousands of years, and saying, you know, we can apply them to this superhero, we can apply them to, you know, this religion, and we can compare them to our current society, and we can kind of figure out, like, what we believe in, what's the importance of being a good person. And the morals that you walk away with at the end of every issue of Second Coming just are absolutely heartwarming, and I kind of just want to, like, hug Mark Russell every time I read an issue. Miss Truesdale and the Fall of Hyperborea, issue 4 from Dark Horse Comics, and this is actually the end of this series. I love these World of Hellboy books because you always get 2 to 4 issue miniseries that just kind of give you some kind of information about a character from the Hellboy universe. And you don't have to know about Hellboy. Sometimes Hellboy doesn't even appear in them, but sometimes he does. And it just builds out that world in such a great way for a new generation of audiences. And so if you haven't read this before, a really cool thing with this book is this is the story of a woman who has lived many lives. Like, she has been reincarnated. Her name is Miss Truesdale. She has been reincarnated a couple times, and at the very beginning of issue 1, she kind of faints and finds herself reliving some of those moments of strength and weakness that she's had, and it all kind of goes back to this place, Hyperborea, that has fallen, and her time there. And there is actually a scene where she interacts with Hellboy in there, and it's like, hey, there's all these things that have gone wrong in your life. There's all these things that have gone well. But the thing that always happens that's most important is that you keep fighting and you keep standing up and you keep trying. And we kind of get to see what her impact was on Hellboy and what her impact was on society through this last issue, which was really cool because you do get to have that character's whole story arc come into it. So even, again, if you've never read a Hellboy book, you can kind of find yourself in this story, understanding everything about this character and growing and coming to that conclusion with them. So really cool way to find out about the Hellboy universe, for sure. Star Signs, issue 4 from Image Comics. This is the story of the constellations all disappearing from the sky and finding themselves living inside of the bodies of humans, and these humans kind of embody a specific star sign. Now, and those being like the signs of the zodiac. So Leo, Aries, Pisces, Libra. And it's very interesting, the character traits that they take for each one, but there are 2 opposing godlike teams essentially developing here. One that is a team of people who are like, hey, we have these superpowers, like, we didn't mean to get these powers, we don't know how we got them, but they're being chased by a team of people who knew that the powers were coming and who are trying to get everybody to work together for their own empowerment, not for good, but just kind of, you know, taking destruction and kind of rule. They want to rule over the world. And of course they're led by Ares, which is probably the most accurate representation that I feel like we've gotten out of any of the characters. Like, a lot of them, just some of the representations I'm like, ooh, I can see, like, you went with like the negative traits of that character, but none of the positive ones yet. So I'm curious to see if that's what we're going to see some twists and turns for. And Leo has been trained by Ares and is kind of just really subservient. And so I'm waiting for them to really step into those Leo characteristics of being a leader and being confident in themselves. But we did finally get Libra in this issue, and I'm curious how that is also going to come into play, because a character that is about balance has made some decisions already that I'm not sure how that's going to balance out for them. So it's really cool to see how they use each of these characters, but also you're basically just getting kind of a new god superhero universe. So if you are a fan of something like Radiant Black, but also a fan of Wicked and Divine, this is going to be a good cross-path action story for you. Maleficent is back with issue 4 from Dynamite Comics. This is part of their Disney Villains line that actually had 2 books out this week. One for Maleficent and one we're going to talk about in just a little bit. This is what if Maleficent, like, what happened with Maleficent before she cursed Aurora? And not going in the same way that, like, the Maleficent movie did, where it's like, oh, she was just, like, living her best life and somebody came and attacked her and that's what made her evil. This is actually, like, your evil Maleficent living in the woods, trying to just be the sorceress that everybody expects her to be. And in issue 1, we see a young boy come to her, the young prince, and he attempts to rob her and take her magic from her for his own good. And since then, every issue has kind of led to a different person or a different group of people from that kingdom kind of coming after Maleficent because of choices she made in that first issue, and her standing her ground against it. I love that a lot of the Maleficent story is really focused on the art, because so much of it is her using her crow to go out and be like a spy for her or a spokesperson for her. And in this one, she kind of does the same thing and sends her crow out, and they're like, oh, you won't come and stand for yourself, Maleficent. And then she does, and it's like, why do you keep taunting her? Like, she's literally like the unseelie court of the Fae, like, evil ruler, and you're constantly taunting this woman who you know is capable of absolute destruction. And I don't know why you make bad choices with your life, because you're never going to win. And this is Maleficent versus an entire army of people. And, you know, she doesn't even have to dragon. We actually have not seen Maleficent dragon out yet, and I'm hoping that's going to be like some big finale that we get. But if you are a fan of Disney movies and this is your villain of choice, you should definitely be checking this out. And it's great for all ages. Again, we used it in Story Spelunkers, and the kiddos loved it. Up next, we have Astro issue 4 from Whatnot's massive publishing line. This is very much like a Transformers kind of style story. This is robots have been sent to essentially cultivate a planet for us, and we destroyed Earth, and we needed to send humans to space to protect them, but they are all in cryo sleep until they get to a place where there's a planet that actually works for them. And we don't have any planets that are already built for us, so we send essentially Transformers out to build our planet for us. And one of them has Megatron all over the place and has just become, I'm the leader and humans need to die because they just destroy everything, and I'm gonna take out the humans when they land on this planet, but that's what they're coming for. So he's kind of led this robot overtaking, and we've got one robot who is supposed to be a destroyed unit who has managed to survive through the wastelands and everything, and he has come to fight against this person, not even necessarily to protect humans, but to kind of protect robots. But we do have at the same time an Athenia unit who is a Venus unit, actually, and she is supposed to be the ones protecting humans, and so she is attempting to stand up in her own ways to save the humans that are in her protection. Really built out a huge world very, very quickly in this story. I feel like I feel like I've been watching a cartoon or a live action Transformers movie. I honestly, like, I feel more like I know these Transformers characters than even, like, some of the Transformers things that are currently coming out. Like, I feel like these are the Transformers I watched on TV, like, especially the one that I said is the Venus bot. She looks so much like, you can see her down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can get that. She looks so much like the facial expressions, like on even RC and stuff in Transformers. So this felt so much like watching a modernized version of Transformers, that if you are a Transformers fan and you are not picking up Astrobots, I feel like you're missing out on some major Transformer comic that is gonna pop someday and you're gonna be like, how did I miss that? So grab Astrobots, great storytelling, and again, fun for all those 80s kids. Or the modern kids who are loving Transformers now, who maybe not know all the Transformers characters, so we're happy to just see something similar. We're going to get to some number 3s. We've got West number 3 from Uncivilized Books. This is one of the longest running books to only hit issue 3 I feel like we've had in a minute. West number 1 came out when we were still in Austin, before we ever even announced that we were closing. And then I think West number 2 got here right when we got here. And so it's been about a year since we had that. We do have 1 and 2. So if you are looking to get into this, this is the story of a magical world, and it's all done. It's all one cartoonist doing the storytelling. I mean, I guess that's what a cartoonist is, doing the story and the writing, or the art and the art. But is the story of some magical people in a world where magic is kind of being stolen by this big corporate entity, and they're like harvesting people and stealing all of this stuff. And these two people who are used to kind of just sitting around doing nothing and using the plants that they grow for different reasons, decide, hey, maybe we should break into that place, and we should stop it from happening, because it seems like a bad idea. I'm trying to make sure that there's like no paraphernalia going on here. This is weird. I don't know what the rules are on Facebook, but they're like, hey, we're gonna break into this place and we're gonna stop this from happening. And then they try, and they learn that it's even worse than they thought. And now they're trying to expose this corporation because they weren't enough to take it down. And so in this issue, these two are going to a party to try to find an influencer, a magical influencer who can kind of get the word out to other people. And the party is inside of this like crazy club that you have to go through a portal in, and the portal's inside of a dog's mouth. It's like everything in this book is super trippy and crazy, as you would expect from like a zine style cartoonist book. But it's actually, again, it's a really great, like, hey, we need to stand up against corporations who are basically harvesting human power for their own goodness and their own power, I guess I should say. But anyway, it's great. If you haven't read issues 1 and 2, grab all 3 and check it out and see how they do it. Because again, they are like, their cat is actually not a cat. It's like a Salem, like it's like a cat type creature, but it's like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so it's actually human. Even that dog was like, oh, I'm being a dog now because I think being a dog is cool. And they're like, didn't you used to be like this other thing? So it's got all kinds of weird magic, like almost vignette-y zine kind of moments, but done in a full story way. Up next, we have Void Rivals, issue 3 from Image and the Skybound imprint. So that would be Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead fame, who's actually writing this. This is your lead-in to your new Cybertron universe. This is the first book that is going to lead to the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover that is coming at Image Comics later this fall. And it starts with 2 people from 2 alien planets who they are in a firefight, and they end up attacking each other and landing on the same planet, and neither of them can get away. And so they realize in order to save one of them, or both of them, they'd have to work together. And in the process of doing that, they find out that there's actually really not a difference between them. And they've kind of maybe been led astray by the powers that be for hundreds of years in their civilizations. And so they're trying to figure out how to get together and make it back to at least one of their home worlds, and figure out how to tell everybody that maybe things aren't so bad and they shouldn't be at war together. But this is a lot of double crossing. It's a lot of twists and turns. It's a lot of big adventure in space. And I'm not going to show you that. However, I will say that in the comment section, somebody wrote in and said, is Void Rivals an ongoing series? And Kirkman's team responded with yes. And they said, oh, it's the Energon universe, not the Cybertron universe. We're going bigger than just Cybertron. And then they said, is it going to continue to intersect with the new Transformer stories? And they said, absolutely. And then they asked, could Mask be a part of the Energon universe? To which they said, what's a mask? And then they said, just kidding, we know exactly what Mask is. And they didn't answer the question. So could be that Mask is going to cross into the universe with the rest of the Energon Hasbro toys. We'll find out. But
the Energon universe is a new concept entirely. Starting in Void Rivals. That is not old information.
No. Cybertron, that's why I keep calling it the Cybertron universe, because that's what it's just called in Transformers. But Energon is going to be a part of this crossover of Transformers, G.I. Joe, and whatever like these different worlds are from Void Rivals and how they're going to connect. And possibly, who knows, maybe Mask. I don't know anything. So when I tell you these things, don't go out and be like, oh, I've got to pick up all the old Mask stuff because Shannon said Mask is going to be a part of it. I don't know. I know nothing about nothing when it comes to what Robert Kirkman is planning for this Energon universe. So don't quote me on anything. I'm just speculating on it just like you guys. And honestly, Mask is the thing that everybody asks me. Do you think Mask is going to be a part of this? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm not trying to mislead you. I literally don't know. You've Been Canceled, issue 3 from Madcave Comics. This is all about a world where when people get canceled on the internet, that actually literally puts a bounty on their head. And so these bounty hunters have a job of just going through and killing people who are canceled on the internet. Well, anybody could be canceled at any point in time. It's like a whole big system. It's not just like, oh, this major celebrity. So in this world so far, we've been following this one guy who's like the ultimate bounty hunter. And recently somebody put a bounty on his head, and he finds out that the system was hacked by an 11-year-old kid who's like determined to have him killed. And now in issue 3, we have finally figured out why this kid wants him killed and what is going on at the system, like with the system of cancelization that they've created. And of course, we've got some corporate funny business going on, and so we're going to have to see whether or not this man and his group can make the right decisions and kind of fight for the right cause, or if they are going to continue to play the puppets of the people who are just trying to make them do their bidding. But this is definitely a little people fighting back kind of story in the making, and I cannot wait to see where issue 4 goes. It's going to be awesome. I always say issue 3 is your turning point issue, and when we got to what was happening in this one, changed my entire everything about where this was going on this issue. And I was like, up until this, I was like, oh, it's kind of like the scumbag, like he's kind of a terrible person. I don't really want to root for him, and I don't really know how you're gonna make me care about this guy. And that's good writing as well, because you're writing such a terrible character that I don't connect with him. And then this issue happened, and I was like, ooh, okay, here we go. Let's do this. And so I'm stoked for issue 4 now. It's probably going to jump to the top of the books when it comes in, because I want to know what happens. Black Demon Tales, issue 3 from Scout Comics and their Chispa line. Not going to lie, I looked up Black Demon to see if I could watch the movie that coincides with these, and it's $5.99 on Amazon, so I didn't immediately watch it. I almost watched it though if it would have been just included with my Amazon subscription. But this is these are one shots that coincide with the concept of the Black Demon, which is a very large shark, a megalodon if you would. I am a sucker for megalodons, And we are looking at, this goes back to 1953, and it takes us back in time to see how the shark kind of impacted some things back during that time period. And again, sucker for a big giant shark story. And so this is always comes back to this is a Latin American culture, like mythological story, which is the Chispa line, what that's all about. And so in it, it's like, oh, we're gonna fight for this, and we're gonna take this land, and we're gonna do stuff. And then this like person is like, I'm gonna call on the black demon to protect us. And anytime that happens, that means we're gonna get some major megalodon action. Again, all one shots, and I don't know if these characters each connect to somebody in the story of the movie. But I do know that I love all of the different stories that we've gotten so far throughout time of this, because this ancient beast that will protect these people from anybody that comes. I mean, even like this one has different, like 3 different groups of people who are trying to attack this community. And they're like, hey, you can try to attack us, but we've got a shark and all you got's guns. So good luck. And again, I'm always in Team Megalodon every time. In Hell We Fight, issue 3 from Image Comics. This is the story of a bunch of kids who are dead and live in hell. And they're just having one of those days, like, you know, Stand By Me, Goonies kind of things, where they're like, ooh, we're going to go on an adventure. And their adventure is they find out that an ice cream truck is going to be coming through. And they're like, who has ice cream in hell? So they try to rob the ice cream truck. And when they open up the ice cream truck in issue 1, they find out that there is not ice cream in it. There is an angel in it. And they are now trying to figure out what they're supposed to do with this angel that is stuck in hell, that they are now responsible for, that they've now stolen from who knows who. And so this ragtag group of young kids is on their own adventure to kind of figure out a way to save the creature that they found, or you know, save themselves in the process, because now they're going to be in a lot of trouble for stealing this. It's really great. I love the different pieces of the puzzle, because you've got the one kid who can vomit up anything they need, and you've got the one girl who has this really dark past and we don't really know what it is, and you've got the son of the demon in the group. Such a cool group of kids, and yet you're still just essentially getting like a Goonies style adventure of them trying to make something happen. So if you're looking for a fun story like that, this is going to be the one for you. And In Hell We Trust, and we are on issue 3, so you're not too far in. In Hell We Fight, not In Hell We Trust. I don't know, you know, fight there, trust there, you can do what you gotta do. In Hell We Fight, issue 3. Up next, we've got Wilds in issue 3 from Boom Studios, which means we are halfway through this story. And this is a retelling, essentially, of War of the Worlds, all with animals. This is about a group of animals who are fishermen people. I don't know, have we come up with a unisex term for fishermen? I don't know if we have, but so these are a group of people who go out on a fishing boat and fish for a living, and they are gone for a period of time, and when they come back, everybody in the town is missing, and they try to find them, and they find out that they're all kind of stunned by this humming noise, and they're just kind of standing there, and weird things are happening. And I don't even want to give you much more than that, but since then we've learned that we are kind of dealing with an alien invasion, and I don't even want to show you the aliens, but like it's War of the Worlds. We'll go with this because this doesn't show you anything. It's very much a War of the Worlds. Like they even talk about like, oh, we thought we saw a meteor shower coming, and then suddenly like these creatures were there, but then like it's like, did they come from above or have they been here the whole time? You get a lot of the similar elements of that, and yet again, all done with animals. And we've already in 3 issues like lost some people that were a part of our team. we've seen some big changes. We've seen them like have to come to the point where they're like, we're going to have to do something. Are we going to just let this go? It's only 6 issues, so we're halfway through. So we've got to make some big choices coming up pretty fast if we're going to save the day. And we kind of get a little bit of a hint of what we're going to have to do if that's going to be the case as the story unfolds. It was one of those where, like, issue 1 left on such a big cliffhanger that everybody was like, oh my god, what is this going to be? And as issues 2 and 3 have come out and you get a little bit more information, I'm still kind of waiting because I think there's going to be a little bit more of a twist than what we're prepared for because everybody thinks they know what it is. So there's going to be something else. I feel like just the fact that everybody that comes in is like, oh, it's this. Okay. Like, even the fact that I called it War of the Worlds with animals, I feel like they're going to be like, actually, it's not. It's this. And so waiting to see. It's going to happen. Up next, we've got the Lonesome Hunters, the Wolf Child, issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is volume 2 of Lonesome Hunters that came out last year. And Lonesome Hunters was the story of an old man who, when he was a young boy, his father was a member of a cult. And there was this magic sword, essentially, that could destroy these demons and kind of control evil entities. And he was gifted this sword in that process and has now been, essentially, as he believes, cursed with it over time. And in volume 1, he met a young girl, and that's kind of who was being chased by these demons and dark things. It's kind of the only thing that really drew him back into the battle. And he's kind of like, okay, I guess I have to do all this stuff and I have to actually fight for it. And in this volume, he has him and the young girl are on their own on their adventures, and they have now come across these wolves that are, who knows what these wolves are, but they are, the young girl feels like there's some way that they can help them. The old man is always just trying to find a way to hide, and we are going to see a big group of people from the town that they're in kind of go against them. We also have just learned in this volume that the cult that he is from still exists and is after him in their own way. And so we're going to see in this volume a lot of things come to a really big head and explode from there. So if you are interested in just a really good story of 2 people trying to fight evil, and one being very reluctant and one being reluctant to be held back, this is a great story. It's kind of like magical version of Old Man Logan, honestly, or like Logan the movie, because you've got like the old man who wants nothing to do with like his powers and his ability, and the young girl who doesn't really have much to say but is going to fight the whole time, and the 2 of them are trying to figure out how to fight together against an evil that he doesn't even want to go against. So it's kind of supernatural Old Man Logan. Up next, we've got Panya, the Mummy's Curse, issue 2 from Dark Horse, and this is also a part of our Hellboy universe. This one is really cool. This takes place in ancient Egypt, and it's about a young girl who lives in the palaces, and I believe she's actually training to be a priestess. And in this issue, she's supposed to be practicing doing the incantations that they all use before they go into the dream world. And she keeps getting the incantation wrong. But more so than that, when people go into the dream world, they are waking up within that to find themselves facing like their worst nightmares and creatures coming after them and just all kinds of bad stuff. And so she figures the way that she can help is by going into this dream world herself. And when she gets into that dream world, it opens up to an absolutely destructive vision that she thinks may be something that's going to come to fruition soon. And so she feels like she needs to stand up for it and kind of fight for it, but nobody listens to anything she says. It is building up to be a really, really cool story, and I cannot wait to see what happens for her and the people and what these visionary dark moments are actually supposed to be. So, right, I'm going to take a drink really fast. We are drinking Campo Viejo Tempranillo. It's just so good. Again, one of my favorites. I love it so much. All right, we're going to keep going because we have so many number 2s this week. What a good number 2 week. We've got Antarctica issue 2 from Image and Top Cow. This is the story of a woman who had a dad who was mixed up in a lot of stuff. Like maybe he was an archaeologist, maybe he was an adventurer, maybe he was doing something completely shady. She didn't really know, but she knew he was always gone. And he goes missing one day when she's a child, and she spends kind of her whole life doing the wrong thing, and then eventually gets to the point where she gets an or a scientist-style degree, and she, like an ecologist, a geologist, one of those. And she's going out to, I guess she just really becomes an engineer. And she's supposed to be going out to Antarctica, and when she gets there, she finds out that the station that she's at she knows is the station that her dad was sent to. But when she gets there, she finds out that there's something more to it. And it seems as though the research they're doing may have opened up a rift to another dimension. And it's such a parallel dimension that the first person she meets from it is herself from this dimension. And she kind of gets that really, really quickly because of things that happen. And so now she is helping the people that are on the crew with her kind of fight against this darkness that is coming for them. And in this issue is all of them like just kind of trying to stand firm against the people from the other dimension coming after them. And like, how do you know who's on your side and who may have been replaced with somebody from another dimension, and dealing with all of that like body snatchers kind of stuff. And as they work harder and harder to keep themselves locked in and safe, things get worse and worse for them. And so we're going to see some cold, dark, terrible moments coming up. Because if there is one place that I do not want to be stuck forever not knowing what's going on, it's Antarctica. It's just too cold. I don't want to have to go outside there, but nonetheless like be stuck outside there. I'm out. But I am in for the book. Next up, we've got Bryn Mawr, issue 2 from IDW, and this is Steve Niles' new book. This is one that I was very excited to get this issue 2 for, because I love those, that almost really, honestly, at this point, classic horror feel that we get from a Steve Niles book. And this is the story of a guy who returns home to the island that he's from, which is named for his family. And the other thing named for his family is the curse that the island has on it. And everybody hates him. They don't want him there. They don't want anybody from his family ever on the island ever again. And he's like, well, I'm here. It's my island. It's my home. And so he goes to stay in the rundown church that nobody uses anymore. And he starts trying to renovate it to turn it into a home. And in the process of that, in issue 1, he finds a secret passageway that leads him to a deep, dark underground thing. And there's this tomb type situation going on down there that has all these symbols on it. And in the beginning of issue 2, he hands off those symbols to a friend who is going to cipher them out. And literally, as she's ciphering it out, he is getting drunk because he's been beaten up by the locals and is making bad choices. And so as we see that it says beware and do not do any of the things that you're doing, we are also seeing those things play out. And some things will be awoken as we get closer to the end of the issue and the twist in the next one. And darkness has descended upon the island. And if you're a fan of Midnight Mass, this is not as dark and deep as Mike Flanagan takes that, but this is definitely very much in that similar vein of that story where you're like, what is hidden on the island, and what are these people that I'm connected to that I don't want to necessarily be connected to going to do about it. So recommend that for those people that love that show. And who didn't love that show? I don't think I've ever met anybody who didn't love Midnight Mass. Queen of Swords, issue 2 from Vault Comics. This is a spin-off of Barbaric. So if you didn't read Barbaric is one of the biggest titles that Vault Comics has had in the last couple years, and it's fantastic. It is the story of a barbarian named Owen who is trying to get over a curse that's been put on him so that he's like forced to help people who are in need of help. He has to kill. That's the only reason he can kill people. And he's gifted a talking axe who goes along with him on these adventures. And over the course of that time, he met a necromancer named Soren, and they have been working together. And their adventures have led them to so many places, including the underworld, where he has brought back. We have brought back a person he used to fight with. And now she is leading the team, which consists of her and another girl, and the woman who actually trained Soren on her magic. And so now we have a team of 3 women, one who has a talking sword, who absolutely hates women, is the most misogynistic thing in the whole wide world, but also can't deny that he loves bloodlust. And we are getting such a good story out of this. The sword and sorcery of this is wonderful, but also just the empowerment, the depth of the lore that has been added to this. Barbaric started out like hit with the great jokes from Axe and dove deeper and deeper as the story went on. This one came out with a strong story. We are trying to figure out if Sarah, who trained Soren, can overcome her evil sister. Her sister, who is one of the most powerful sorceresses of all time, who has now taken into like the battle and is kind of taking over every dark entity in the world and is coming for her sister. And I love that in this issue she has a moment where she's like, the sister Sarah is like, all I ever wanted was to get away from my sister, so the biggest curse that my sister could put on me is that I would always have her in my brain able to talk to me. So I literally have an evil sorcerer in my brain talking to me at all times. I can never feel like I can trust myself. I never feel like I can trust anybody else. The hardest thing in the world is that basically my own brain is fighting against me. And it's such a cool story because these girls all work together. You've got your barbarian who is like, I'm just here for bloodlust. And then you've got your girl who's there for revenge. She's got to avenge her parents who were murdered by this group. And then you've got this magic user who's like, I'm here to avenge myself and to uphold, find out that I can be better than what I am. And it's such a great group of people. And I took a snapshot of a scene from it today. And I said that, I love that the response that I got back from somebody was get them with a talking bloodthirsty cursing battle axe, and then teach them about self-worth, because that's what this issue has done. We drew you in with this talking axe and barbaric, and this whole issue is just like, hey, you actually matter, and yeah, there's a lot going on in your head, but you can defeat the stuff going on in your head just like you can defeat these bad guys. And so this issue is so powerful and so cool, and still had all the sword and sorcery that you love so much. And I love that as a review of this book. You had a talking axe, you drew you in with that bloodthirsty axe, but now here you are, you're learning your self-worth all through Queen of Swords and the Barbaric Universe and Vault Comics, which of course, we love them. Then you've got Children of the Comet issue 2 from Sumerian, and this is Damien Connolly, who's known for the Follow Me Into Darkness and You Promised Me Darkness, and this is kind of in that same vein. This is all about a comet that came past the Earth that gave everybody, a bunch of people, superpowers through that. And in the first issue, we see a guy who, his job is to go and seek out children of the comet and find them and kind of bring them to this academy where they're trained and they're kept safe. And their whole thing is, we don't want anybody to be used or abused because they have that. And in this issue, we get to see a lot of the other people who work there and a lot of the things that they have, their powers are, and some of their powers are quite hilarious. And they are going against this guy who is trying to find a young girl. And this young girl has the ability to kind of telepathically speak to people. And that includes, she can actually speak to the comet that made them have their own, all their powers. And so it's really cool because you never actually see that kind of thing where they can talk to entities like that. So that was an awesome, way to develop her power. But we find out that not only is there a man who's coming after all of them, but there is a society that is filled with bad people who use their powers for evil from the comet, and they are all coming after this. And so we are building towards a war between the children of the comet and the society of the comet, essentially. And we're going to see where this goes for them, but it doesn't look like it's going to be good for anybody. But as long as the little girl stays safe, she's so cute. I love her. Savage Squad 6, issue 2 from Dark Horse Comics. This is like your 90s comic if the whole cast was just really cool girls. And so this is you've got your lineup of each one. It's almost like a Red or a Expendables kind of cast line where each of these girls has their rough and tumble personality, and they each play a role in the special ops group, and they are in the process of going to stop some stuff that's happening on Chernobyl, essentially. And they are supposed to retrieve this special like nuclear power that they need to take back to people. And when they get there, something attacks their group in the middle of the night, and they're like, oh my gosh, there must be other operatives here. We need to fight back. We need to be prepared. And we do learn there are, in fact, other operatives on this island. And then we learn that the other operatives are not the problem. And I am going to not at all show you why. Because it is crazy. Things go from bad to, oh my God, what the crap just happened, very, very quickly. And these ladies have to learn to not only like work faster and harder than they ever have before, but just throw everything they know out the window and realize that like some things they may not be able to defeat, and survival is more important than the mission. And it escalated quickly, like super quickly, with that book. We've got Still Siege #2 from Battle Quest Comics. This is for fans of Dune. I think you would really like this. Like if you like mech and you like Dune, you need to put these two books together. Or you put those two stories together and bring it in here, because that is exactly what you're going to get from there. And so this starts with, issue 1 started with a young girl who keeps telling us that she's not actually young. She looks like she's about like 16 years old, but she keeps telling us she's older than everybody in the story. And she is trying to get home. She needs to get to her home planet, and she feels like if somebody can get her to this planet and to the person in charge, like she can make a difference in all of the wars that are happening all across the galaxy. And they're like, look, that's like the guy that helps her is like, that's not really my job. I will get you to somebody who can, but I'm not gonna just sit around and spend my time trying to save you. And as issue 2 unfolds, we find he gets her to that person, but then they get attacked by the bad guys who are kind of taking over this place, and the reason why they are fighting as this revolutionary group. And so they all have to stand together and kind of work to see if they can save the day, not on an overall basis, but just in the immediate moment. And then can they actually learn to like work together, and will they learn who she is and why she has this like ability to help them? That's still kind of to be seen, but we do get a little glimpse of it in this issue. So again, feels very much like Dune meets like Pacific Rim because of all the mech suits and stuff. So kind of put those two together and you're going to get what Still Siege is. All right, before I jump into number 1s, I'm going to take another drink. All right. We've got Hades #1, part of the Dynamite Disney Villains line. This is the closest adaptation to the character from the movie by far. Like, they not only got the artwork to look very similar and the story feels kind of the same, but we also really, really got the voice. Like, you almost have to read this in James Wood's voice because it fits so well within that. But if you saw Hercules, Disney's Hercules, that is where Hades is from, and all of these Disney Villains books have basically been kind of like, let's take it back a little bit before the battles that they have in those movies. And so in this one, Hades is mad at the gods because they have everything and they cursed him to live in Hades. And rule over the dead and all of the things that Hades is always mad about all the time. And so he goes to the Fates and he's like, I don't want to deal with this. I need to come up with a plan. And they're like, well, that's not the way this is going to work. And he's like, nobody cares what you have to say. So he just kind of makes his own plan and is going to go after the gods. And we get the start of this really hilarious adventure that he's going to go to. And we kind of see him building his team up for who he's going to use in this battle against the gods, and it's gonna be a mess, and I'm here for it. Even though, as always, I will say that the Disney Hercules is the most inaccurate Greek mythology adaptation of all time, and I am including the Percy Jackson movies. I still love it every time, and I'm so excited to read the rest of this series. This is one of the ones that I've been waiting on until they give me my Madam Mim from Sword in the Stone. This is going to be the one that I'm probably the most excited for. Orson Welles, Warrior of the Worlds, issue 1 from Scout Comics. This is a non-stop. As usual, that means that we are going to get this single issue, and then it's going to go directly into a trade paperback. Or collection, however you want to use that term. So if you are excited about this book, if you picked up this #1, or if this sounds like something you'd be interested, make sure you tell your local comic shop, like, hey, when that graphic novel, collection, trade paperback, whatever word you want to use to describe it, comes out, I want it. So this is the story of a woman who is researching Orson Welles and the War of the Worlds kind of time period. Like, Orson Welles has died, and they're kind of going through all of this stuff, and they're trying to figure out, how to talk about it and what he did. And she's doing all these interviews and trying to figure out where War of the Worlds kind of came from, because as they go through more and more of the stuff, it doesn't sound like it's something he, just radio played. It sounds like something that actually happened, and she's getting confused, and so she's going to all these people and talking to them, and in the process of all that happening, we kind of learn as readers with her that there is more to the story, and we get to see her kind of come, I'm gonna say, face to face with a little bit more of that War of the Worlds story than even she wants to, and we find out that Orson Welles may not have been who we thought he was, but he may in fact be the Warrior of the Worlds, and how that's going to play out, we're going to find out when we get that collected edition and read all of the issues at one time, because the alien invasion is upon us, and I'm really excited. I really like War of the Worlds. I don't know. It's just one of those classics at this point, and I love to see people's different takes on it. I'm guessing at this point it's in public domain, because it seems like everybody right now is like War of the Worlds kind of stories. So I'm guessing we must have hit the point where War of the Worlds officially became public domain. Which I guess, was it when Orson Welles read it on the, was it already then when he read it on the radio play? Was it already public domain, or do we know?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Guess it is now.
How do you wrote it?
I don't know. I did H.G. Wells, right?
Oh,
H.G. Wells wrote, because there's even a conversation about that, because they say in the book, didn't you write this? And he's like, I'm Orson Welles, not H.G. Wells. Which I don't know if that's, now I'm confused. I don't know. Because, let's see.
They entered public domain in 2017.
That's what I was just looking at. Wow, that's crazy. Crazy. It's insane that's wow. That's, everything is coming into public domain. That's been a big part of pop culture. And so I love that we're getting to see way more pop culture stuff come from all these things. It's so great. Anyway, we're going to shift gears just slightly and go to the Madness #1 from AWA. This is J. Michael Straczynski, not connected to the Resistance universe. Our Resistance universe at AWA seems to kind of be wrapped up, but we are still getting some superhero-esque style stories. And this would be one of them. This is the story of a woman who has superpowers and is telling her husband, the father of her children, that she is ready to be done. She doesn't want to be a part of it. And she's not really a superhero. She is kind of a super thief. And she's like, I don't want to be a part of this world anymore. I kind of want us to just be able to retire. If I do this one more job, famous last words, we'll be set and we'll be good. Well, she ends up robbing somebody who's got a lot of reach from another country. So they're like, hey, you need to do something about this person that we believe is from your country. Otherwise, you're going to have a war on your hands. And so they decide they've got to make some decisions. We've got to get some superheroes involved. Superheroes are like, that's not really she didn't really do anything that like it requires this level of action. And I'm not going to go that far. And they're like, oh, well, we've got to make a decision, and we've got to kind of decide what to do. And the government's like, well, this is what you have to do. And something really, 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 really big happens, and a choice is made for our character who is our main character at the end of this issue. And all of this is such a big ending that I don't want to spoil anything. So stick around, because by the time issue 2 comes out, I will definitely have to spoil that for you. But we go from a beautiful, amazing story of hope and family to the madness very, very quickly. And this is a character that I'm really excited to see how it plays out for them. I'm so stoked. This is going to be insane. And bad things are going to happen to everybody because of it. So check it out. Up next, Blade in the Dark, issue 1 from Scout Comics. This is a Ronin in a sci-fi kind of blend together story. This is about a guy who has that classic, my family was killed, I'm coming to avenge them, I will stand against whoever it was, the warriors who fought my family, I will fight against them. And he goes after the people that fought them, and I'm just going to show you because it's very early on in the series. They are not human, necessarily. There is a monster beneath the helmet of the person who he is forced to fight, and he's like, ooh, this is really, really bad. I don't know what to do. And then he meets this witch woman who's like, look, I can train you. I can help you. You need to kind of get away from this idea of revenge only and let us lead you into the path that you want. And he, like, what that you need to be on and not just the one that you want. And he's like, I do not want that. I want to go my own way. I will battle however I want to and wherever I want to. I have been trained to be great. I do not need your assistance. And we all know he will be back and something will happen. But if you are a big fan of samurai, if you are a big fan of Ronin warrior stories, and you like a little bit of a sci-fi twist, this is going to be a great series for you. And this is not a non-stop. This is going to be an ongoing, so you will get this in single issue format. So make sure you check that out. Strange Science, issue 1 from Chilling Adventures and Archie Comics. This is the story of Danny. Danny is Jinx Holiday's best friend. If you know Jinx, who has been a part of all of the Chilling Adventures recently, Jinx is the daughter of the devil, essentially. And she is in a band with Danny. And Danny is really, really good at science. And suddenly, but has like a frenemy in Dilton. And if you know Dilton, Dilton's the big nerd, good at everything in the Archie universe. And they receive a message on a device that's from Dilton that's like, hey, basically I stole your time machine idea and all your schematics, and now I'm stuck in the past and I don't know what's going on and I need you to come get me. And Dilton's like, they go to save Dilton, and Dilton's like, I didn't want you to come here, this is a bad idea, like now you're stuck here. And they find out that there are monsters that are trying to keep them there, and those monsters are connected to Danny and who Danny is. And we basically learn that sometimes you have to let go of parts of your past and truly accept who you are if you want to move forward into your future. And this is a really, really beautiful of Chilling Adventures. You know, usually the Chilling Adventures books are just like, how can I give you like the most like standard horror like pulp story in the Archie universe, and this one was like, how can I give you like the deepest story in pulp form in the Archie universe? This was such a great book, so if you haven't picked it up, highly recommend you grab that one this week. Up next, we've got Godzilla War for Humanity issue 1 from Archie Comics. This is an all-new Godzilla story, which Godzilla stories always fly off the shelf. People love the kaijus. But this is about a woman who, when she was a kid, her and her best friend went out to play, and they were attacked by Hedorah. And they didn't think they were going to make it back, and Godzilla comes to save them. And so they make it back, and she ends up becoming essentially a research scientist, but also like a public speaker on Godzilla. And like she even talks about, like, she does a TED talk about Godzilla and how he's a protector, and she kind of mentions that. And she does at least a minimum of 10 speeches a year on Godzilla the Protector. And she goes to give a speech, and she's interrupted by a man who's kind of like the tech bro, Elon Musk kind of guy. And he's like, well, if Godzilla's a protector, then what's he doing about the fact that now all of these kaiju are being attacked by this new creature that has come up on our radar? And, you know, he got Gorosaurus, and he got, I can't remember who the other person he got. And they, like, changed their migration patterns. I don't know what to say. But so they're like, hey, we've got to go stop him. What's our plan? And she's like, well, I think Godzilla will come to save us. And he's like, well, I built a robotic Godzilla that's all AI controlled, and I think we need to send that out. And she's like, I think you need to understand that Godzilla is our best hope. And then we kind of see like what Godzilla is up to, and maybe Godzilla's not going to come for us, and maybe we don't deserve Godzilla. But we're going to see as we go on for this war for humanity if Godzilla can save us. But there's a little baby Godzilla, and he's one of my favorites. I don't care what anybody says. He's adorable. So if you are a fan of kaiju, there's so many of them that appear immediately in this book. It's great. Definitely make sure you catch this issue 1, because it's going to be a great series. And speaking of things that are going to be a great series, we've got the Hollywood Special issue 1 from IDW's original imprints. What I'm saying is this week is a great week for IDW. This is all about a woman in the 1940s during all of the time when they were trying to sell war bonds. And she is on one of those train tours through the country to kind of lead people to the, hey, you need to help your country, you need to help them out, do your patriotic duty. And she's doing the best that she can do in all of those capacities, but we learn that she's not a good mom, that she actually has a husband and daughter back home, and she hasn't been attentive to them, and they kind of hate her because she never did anything for them. She kind of left them behind to live this life as this celebrity who does all of this promotional stuff. And she goes to a new town, and it's her and like the all-star pilot, and they are there to, like I said, promote war bonds and get people to buy them. And when they get to this town, they pull in, and only one person is standing there, and it's a young girl. And they're like, where is everybody else? And she's like, oh, well, I promised my friend if he couldn't be here that I would bring his plane and his pictures and stuff to get autographed, because he had to go work in the mine, and he didn't know if he was going to make it. And they're like, so is everybody at work? And she's like, well, the mine collapsed, so everybody's trapped in the mine. And they're like, oh my God, we have to go help. And of course they're like, that's not what you do. Like, you're not supposed to go actually do stuff. And they're like, no, we have to go help these people. And I really think we're going to get a very Silent Hill style story set in the 1940s to come from here on out, because IDW originals are from the Dark Spaces, specifically imprint, which I believe this is on, are actually always, in fact, dark and creepy. It's about spaces in America that are dark, and this is not the cover A. Yeah, this is a Dark Spaces, but it's not the cover A, so it doesn't say that on there. But this is part of Scott Snyder's imprint within the IDW originals, which is all about places in America that are dark and creepy, and the supernatural things do possibly lurk or not. Maybe it's not supernatural. Sometimes, like wildfires wasn't supernatural. It just was dark because it was all about wildfires. But we're gonna see where this one goes. But I think it's gonna get really creepy, and I'm so in. Because I love that time period. I love all of the like 1940s glamour being something that we think is going to be good and then isn't good for us. But yeah, it's great. All right, we got 3 picks of the week. We're going to talk about really fast. I keep rotating them while I'm talking to you because I don't know which ones I want to talk about first. So we'll start with the one that is always here. My pick of the week every time it comes out, which is Something Epic. This is issue 4 from Image Comics. Absolutely love this book, not just because it talks about it has a cool story, but also because it talks about imagination and talks about emotion and what it all is. I love that it has one creator who is doing the writing, who is doing the lettering, who is doing the art. The only thing they're not,
Are they a cartoonist?
I mean, at that point, yes. I was going to check because I think they might not be doing that. They're not doing the lettering. They're doing everything but the lettering and the translation. But this is the story of a young boy who has the ability, starts as the story of a young boy, I guess I should say, who has the ability to see imaginations, which is what they call the actual physical embodiment of people's imaginations. So every time you think of something and you start to imagine it or create it, it becomes existent in a world that not everybody can see. And epics, as they call them, can actually see and kind of sometimes even control that world. And this young boy is one of them. And as a child, his mom gets sick. And he kind of relies on his imagination for a period of time to help him through it, and then when he gets to his adulthood, he's completely shut off and thinks anybody that uses their imagination is an idiot, and that people should stop being so into fantasy stories, and they should stop being into some things that are so funny, and like they should just kind of live in the real world and get over it. And somebody comes to him and says, hey, the world of imaginations needs you. All of the things that people start to create and never finish because of whatever reason have come to a point where they have solidified in this like their own darkness, and bad things are going to happen, and we need you to kind of stand against that, and we need you to complete the world for us before it's too late. And so we're kind of getting a lead into almost a Ready Player One. We kind of started as Last Action Hero, and I guess it's kind of like Last Action Hero meets Ready Player One, with some of the just most beautiful quotes. I love this book so much because they just have so many great moments where I'm like, I just kind of want to write that on my bathroom mirror as one of my daily reminders. Like, your emotions are your power, and imagination is the key to everything. And you always get a cool movie variant. Next month we're getting a movie variant and a corn homage, actually, which I'm really curious to see why that's gonna be a thing. Mm-hmm. It's right there. You can see it.
Ooh. Ram, if you're still watching.
Right. Somebody who would.
An awesome Follow the Leader variant.
Yeah. But so this has been a great book, and if you're just looking to dive in, it is not a quick read. I tell everybody that picks it up, I'm like, this is your book that, don't wait for a trade paperback. This is not going to be one that you want to sit down and read in one go, because you need to actually have the time to process every single issue. This is one that literally knows what the medium is and is big on, I'm going to hold this up while I'm talking about it so you know what I'm talking about, is big on that episodic nature, because you need that digestion time. You need to think about it. You need to talk about it. You need to be about it. And so read it in the episodic issues that come out, and then take some time with it. Don't just go, I read it in 5 minutes and I'm done. Like, no, take your time and actually pour over the words and see what's happening. And then we've got The Cull, issue 1. This is from Image Comics, and this is Kelly Thompson's new book coming from Image. And this is all about a group of teenagers who all have their own emotional problems. Something wrong with each one emotionally. Like there's something that they're all dealing with. Bless you, sir. They're all dealing with, and they're trying to work through together and independently. And our main point is that they are trying to make a movie. And our main girl is like, I'm going to make this movie no matter what. And if y'all are with me, then you need to show up on time. You need to be a part of it. I need dedication from everybody. If you've ever made a movie with your friends before, you know that that is a thing that you have to argue about. And we see kind of like hints of each kid's backstory very immediately. Just a little, like one clip of them trying to leave home to go film this movie overnight, and how they interact with their parents, and then how they interact with each other, and what each person's experience is in their home life. And when they get to the place where they are going to be filming this movie overnight, they're like, there's no light here. Where are we going? What's happening? And the girl in charge is like, I have a plan. We need to go. We need to do this thing. You guys don't have to go with me, but I'm going. This is where I'm going. I'm going to do it. And we learn there's more to this story, and there is more to this world almost immediately, because things open up very, very quickly. And it's going to be an amazing story. It's going to have great world building. The character development is already 100% there, and you're already invested in everybody's different connecting piece. And the best part is you get this fantastic Press Shann variant. You know, we love them. They always make some of the best covers. Absolutely. Shout out to Chris. You are awesome. We love you so much. And this variant is just another fantastic Chris moment. And if you are a Press Shann fan, I highly recommend you pick this up. If you're a Kelly Thompson fan, you absolutely are going to want to read this book, because it is so good. But I had to give my Chris shout out. Like, that book could have been in the picks of the week just for Chris's awesome cover. And lastly, in our picks of the week is Sirens of the City issue 2 from Boom Studios. This is the story of a young girl who finds herself pregnant from her relationship with her boyfriend, and she's like, I do not want to have this baby. I don't want to keep it. She is trying to get rid of it in issue 1, and something happens where she is not able to. So she finds herself on the street, because not only are her parents not, like her adopted parents, her parents, whatever they are, guardians will say, they are not only concerned about her and what she's doing with this boy, but they're also concerned about what seems to be a weird latent power kind of thing that makes her creepy and weird. And so she has gone to live on the street, and she's connected with a person who's like, hey, I've got a place that you can stay. You're going to be safe here. Don't worry. Meanwhile, her boyfriend is looking for her, and he's determined to find her because she is in danger, because his family is trying to find her, and if they find her first, it is going to be bad. Also, just in case you didn't catch it from the title, this is an urban fantasy, which means it is fantasy characters in the middle of a big city. So while this is kind of a New York City street urchin kind of story, it's actually also a fantasy story. And the weird feeling that these guardians get from her is that she has a magic power, and she is in fact what we know to be a siren. She does not seem to know any of this at all about herself. And we also know that her boyfriend has a power, and so his magical creature group is very not okay with her magical creature group, and all of the people that are hunting for her are all from different kinds of powerful creature groups, and they call them uncannies, which I think is really cool. And we learned some majorly big stuff in this issue. Honestly, my favorite thing about Sirens of the City is I'm a big urban fantasy fan. It's one of my favorite young adult genres, but bigger than that is I am a big fan in the comic book world of stories that are black and white and use splashes of color to convey emotion. And not only do we use splashes of color to convey emotion in this, but we also use splashes of color to convey power types in this. And so it is so cool to see how they are doing that already. This has been such a great start. 2 issues in, we're already seeing a lot of world building. We're seeing a ton of character development. We're seeing some really great artistic playing with the medium, and just all around, like, if you are a fan of mythological creatures, this is going to be a great one, especially if you also like a good grounded story within that world. If you are a fan of something like the first Underworld is an urban fantasy book. The Mortal Instruments series, that's an urban fantasy, I guess Underworld's movie. Mortal Instruments series is a book series, if you are a fan of that, or the Shadowhunters TV show that came out of that. If you're a fan of any of those kinds of things, even True Blood is almost an urban fantasy, except it's in more of a small town than a big city. But somewhere in that kind of vein, this is going to give you that war of those mythological creatures kind of story, but on the grounded level, just like, what is this one person doing? Check it out. It's great. All right, we've got some in stocks this week. In stock this week is Something is Killing the Children, issue 32 from Boom Studios. At this point, I feel like anything I tell you about Something That's Killing the Children is a spoiler, so go back, grab volume 1 if you didn't read it, but if you did read it, and you're still going, just know it's fantastic. Dune House Harkonnen, issue 8. I probably said that wrong because I don't know how to say the names of anything from Dune. Grab that if you are a fan of the Dune movies, books, whatever. It's all in that same world. Gru in the Wild, issue 2. I can't believe there's still Gru books. The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 69. If you didn't know, they are reprinting all of the Walking Dead issues in color for the first time, and there's a new one every single week. I already talked about that. The Vigil, issue 4. This is a DC comic. New characters coming out of, like, this, like the spirit world, this Vigil, and there's one other one and I just forgot, but it's all part of the Dawn of DC. This has been one of the, like, secret underground, like, people who are like, oh, I gave it a try because I got the sampler for free, I want to try the book, have all now fallen in love with this character, so make sure you check it out. Night Terrors had Punchline had her second issue, which means Punchline is wrapped for Night Terrors. Marvel Voices X-Men. This is the one shot that is for the Marvel Voices for the X-Men characters. Night Terrors Wonder Woman issue 2, wrapping up Wonder Woman. We only have 1 full week of Night Terrors left, so we're going to wrap up a couple right here with also having Nightwing's wrap up with his issue 2. We've got Icon versus Hardware issue 4. We've got Hot Girl number 2 as a part of the Dawn of DC. Everybody keeps saying they stopped all Dawn of DC while Night Terrors was going on. They did not. They brought you some new characters and some new titles. Don't miss them. Guess what? I don't know what year it is, but this year Alpha Flight returned to comic books. So this is number 1 of Alpha Flight, and this is actually a part of your Fall of X storyline. So if you are interested in Fall of X, this is your non-X-Men title. This and Uncanny Avengers. You're going to need both of those. Speaking of Uncanny Avengers issue 1, part of your Fall of X, as well as Dark X-Men issue 1, part of your Fall of X. Am I on the right side? Okay, here you go. It's also going to put your Alex Ross recreation of X-Men 1. There will be 4 of these total, I believe, that puts the whole thing together. So these are your first 2. And do you know why we're doing this, everybody? Because it's 60 years of the X-Men. This is our 60th anniversary of both X-Men and the Avengers this year. So Avengers celebrate their 60th anniversary in September. September is 60th anniversary of Avengers. I have Avengers 1. I had to look right there to see what it was. And then we also have X-Men Days of Future Past Doomsday issue 2. We've got Death of Venomverse issue 2 with that Kid Venom variant. This is the first appearance of Kid Venom, so make sure you grab that. If you are getting your Spider-Boy, you're going to need your Kid Venom to go with it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 142. Tales of the Titans issue 2. These are kind of bringing back some really big stories for your Teen Titans. So you're going to see this is the Raven moments. So I was trying to see if it had a good shot of Raven. But if you just want a good Raven story, which everybody does, you all ask me all the time, is there any new Raven stuff? Here it is, Tales of the Teen Titans 2. Gonna have a Raven focus story for you. Spider-Man issue 11. This is I believe this is the origin of Spider-Boy coming out for you right here. And it had that really cool Peach Momoko variant as well. Loki issue 3. Getting your Loki story on. Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Redder. This is issue 2 of that. We've go into the Harley Quinn Black and White, but we're adding some red in it. And this has a Kelly Thompson story, a Brant story, and Ryan Parrott on a story. And I know a lot of Ryan Parrott fans from Power Rangers and Radiant Black, so check out what he would do with Harley Quinn. Daredevil issue 14, wrapping up. This is the wrap up of our Chip Zdarsky stories, I believe. So yeah, we're going into a new Daredevil coming from a new creative team soon. So there you go. Chip Zdarsky finally kind of stepping away from Daredevil. It's crazy. Batman 136. Possibly why Chip Zdarsky is stepping away from Daredevil, because he's still on Batman. We've got Batman White Knight Presents Generation Joker, book 4. Which actually, I don't think that Batman came out this week. I think it was Batman Superman was right there, but it's okay. Batman Superman's World Finest came out this week and had the coolest variant foil cover, which was like a split of Superman and Batman. I think that's actually what was right there. I think that Batman 136 was last week, but I ran out of the awesome World's Finest. Alien issue 5. This is part of your 20th Century Fox Marvel line. And then we got some trades in stock. We've got Wonder Girl's Homecoming. This is the Wonder Girl story from Joelle Jones. The whole thing, issues 1 through 7, as well as the annual and her future state stories, including her story in the Infinite Frontier issue 0. This is everything Wonder Girl that exists at all in one thing, finally in a trade paperback. And it's only $19.99. So if you are like, I don't know who Yada Flor is, and I want to, here it is. This is all you need to know. And I also have a pop of her on the wall in the pop section if you want to check her out and fall in love with her, because she's the best. We've got some Aftershock books returning in trade paperback form with Land of the Living Gods. This is the entire collection about a young girl who finds out that she needs to go to the land of the gods, and she's one of the only people who might be able to do it if she's going to save her people. We've got A Calculated Man. This is basically kind of similar to Ben Affleck's The Accountant movie. This is about a guy who wants to get out of the mob, so he uses his math skills to basically take them all down. And it's super cute because he's also like dating a girl at the same time, and he's kind of using it as like acting like it's fake stories for like cute little talk, but he is in fact actually an assassin. Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside. This is the wrap-up of our Bunny Mask with Volume 2. This is issues 1 through 4 of Volume 2. If you want to know what happens when you are best friends with / fall in love with / are protected by the girl from the ring, this is your story. Little Monsters, Volume 2. This is the wrap-up of Little Monsters from Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. This is a vampire story about a bunch of kids who are stuck in the world without any adults to guide them, and what happens when those vampire kids discover a human for the very first time. As a kid, we had Goosebumps. Then as teenagers, we had Fear Street. Now as adults, we have the Stuff of Nightmares from R.L. Stine. This is literally the progression of our lives from that first little moment in Goosebumps. This is his twisted reimagining of essentially Frankenstein in a way that only R.L. Stine could do it. This is the whole thing, 1 through 4 of that story. Seriously, Goosebumps fans who are now adults, grab that. And lastly, speaking of our buddy Chris Sheehan, who we mentioned earlier, and the great David Boer, who did Canto, we have the entire story of Specs. This is issue 1 through 4. This is a monkey paw style story about a bunch of kids who get those x-ray glasses out of a comic book and learn that they can make all of the wishes that they want, except nothing ever goes the way anybody plans when they do those things, and bad things happen. And of course, where is the moment that it happened? You're not going to be able to see it on the camera, I'm sure, but this bottom panel right here in this trade paperback does feature the Bat City Comics original sticker. So shout out to Chris for, it's way down here in this corner. Shout out to Chris for drawing in the Bat City sticker and always including us in your storytelling. So we love you, Chris. So check it out. This is the second appearance of Bat City in comics. A trivia fact, if you can tell me what the first appearance of Bat City in comics was, I don't have any prizes for you because I don't give away prizes anymore, but I'll give you a whopping high five for doing that. We are once again drinking Campo Viejo Tempranillo from our good friends Daniel and Alicia, who are awesome. If you've ever been to any of our kids' events and you've met the wonderful, amazing Princess Tiana, you have met Alicia. She's amazing. We love her. Thank you for all of your support and for this amazing bottle of wine. We are so excited about comics coming out this week. We can't wait to talk to you about them on Wednesday during our live 5, and you'll see the 5 books I think you should definitely be checking out. But we're also happy to talk to you about them all week in the store. Remember, we are closing early on Friday at 6:30 for a private event, and our book club, $1 book club, is this Wednesday. We are going to be talking about Philadelphia, which you can grab now for $1 for that image first and read it, or read it if you have your own copy. And then Sunday is our story spelunkers for our young readers. It's going to be an awesome time. I said Sunday. Saturday is our story spelunkers at noon. It's a great week. They all are, because we get to talk about comics. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next Sunday. Until then, happy reading. Bye, everyone.